The IAB Tech Lab has announced the Agentic RTB Framework, social platforms are getting into the podcast game, and Disney and YouTube TV have finally reached a deal. That's what we're covering on this week's The Refresh, your weekly download on what went down in advertising. And if you like staying up to date with ad industry and tech news but are short on time, this is for you. So let's get into it. Starting things off with the IAB Tech Lab's announcement of the Agentic RTB Framework, or ARTF. Announced last Thursday, the framework aims to solve for issues of latency or lag time within the programmatic bid stream and lay the technical groundwork needed to better accommodate AI agents and agentic workflows. To achieve this, ARTF focuses on using containerization, or essentially packaging software code for things like bidding models, fraud checkers, or data processing logic into containers that can be hosted locally or within a shared computing environment. This Agentic RTB framework is meant to work alongside recently announced agentic protocols like ADCP and UCP, or User Context Protocol, which the IAB Tech Lab actually manages. While these protocols are meant to support agent-to-agent communication around media planning and buying tasks, ARTF is the underlying infrastructure that would enable agents to carry out those tasks within the programmatic bid stream. I fully intend to dig into this framework and the other two agentic protocols, but Q4 has been Q4. In the meantime, Marketecture's Ari Papero has a nice summary of all three of these in his most recent newsletter. Moving on, if you thought AI agents were going to be the darlings of 2026, you might want to think again, because we're seeing podcasts make a play for the title. TikTok and iHeartRadio just announced a new partnership, and Threads announced new features that would allow podcast creators to better promote their podcasts both on their profiles and within the feed, including the ability to add links to podcast episodes on their profiles and to make these more prominent within the feed by adding colorful backgrounds and thumbnail images. On their end, TikTok and iHeartMedia will be rolling out the TikTok Podcast Network. The network will consist of up to 25 new shows from TikTok creators, dedicated national broadcast and digital radio channels, as well as live event integrations. Shows will be distributed via iHeart's podcast platforms, as well as the iHeartRadio app, and short clips or highlights will be featured on TikTok. While we'll have to wait and see exactly how this plays out, one thing is clear. Both Meta and TikTok/iHeart are betting on conversation as currency, both for cultural participation and advertising opportunities. Finally, after 2 weeks of Disney's content being blacked out on YouTube TV, including 2 weekends worth of NFL and college football coverage, Disney and Google reached a new carriage deal on Friday, just in time for another weekend of football to ramp up again. The deal restores coverage of Disney's full linear portfolio to YouTube TV, including ESPN and ABC. Alongside this, subscribers will have free access to Disney's recently launched direct-to-consumer streaming platform, ESPN Unlimited. As part of the announcement, Google also hinted that they may roll out genre-specific streaming bundles. The 2-week blackout may have you thinking about the ad impressions lost by brands who are relying on contracted inventory in order to appear within this programming. While YouTube TV does command a smaller portion of the market at about 10 million subscribers, the ordeal does highlight the sheer negotiation power and control that Google now has within the TV space. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us for The Refresh, and we'll catch you next week.